Alison McGovern is a Labour MP, member of Open Britain. Good morning. Jonathan Isaby is editor of the website Brexit Central. Hello, Jonathan Isaby as well.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Did you hear that, Jonathan Isaby? He said some really interesting things there. What would you say to his marvellous, fantastic crew of migrant workers who come here and make his business happen, Jonathan?
Well, there have been migrant workers working in the UK for centuries, frankly. No one has ever said that there will be an end to migrant labour as a result of leaving the European Union. As a result of leaving the European Union, however, freedom of movement will end. That was indeed in the Labour manifesto as much as it was in the Conservative manifesto. And when people voted for Brexit last year, it was about taking back control of our laws, our money, our trade policy and our borders. And I don't think it's particularly controversial to suggest that the UK government should be able to have control over immigration policy in this country.
Alison McGovern.
Well, we do have control over immigration policy in this country. And I think Paul explained it really well there. This is part of the mood music that Theresa May has been using for some years now, of trying to create this atmosphere for immigrants and now EU migrants that is unfriendly and unwelcoming. She's had control of immigration policy for some years now, and she's never reduced non-EU
Why is it unfriendly?
migration.
This has gone down very well with a lot of our listeners. Why is this rhetoric, or this mood music, as you put it, unfriendly and unwelcoming? I mean, listen, this is in the document. Put plainly, it means that to be considered valuable to the country as a whole, immigration should benefit not just the migrants themselves, but also make existing residents better off.
Yeah,
What's wrong with that statement?
So, in essence, nothing, because people have got to feel safe and they've got to have a country that's prosperous. And immigration, I believe, can help grow our country and has made our country strong. So there's nothing wrong with that. But remember, Theresa May is the person who, sent the vans with the anti-immigration posters around parts of London. I don't represent an area with masses of immigration. But even I have had EU nationals coming to my surgery, really deeply upset by the tone that's coming out of the government, that is basically making it seem as though EU nationals will be no longer welcome to work here, and that affects businesses like Paul's, where we just heard of. It affects the scientific community in this country, where we've long had these relationships of people working across borders. It affects the car factory where lots of my constituents work, and I think we've got to change the tone of this discussion.
Well, how about changing the tone by giving preference in the job market to resident workers? That's what it says as well.
Well, we want people to have a job and to be able to, as I said, to be prosperous. And the fact is, of course, people will say, immigrants steal your jobs. Of course, people want to put out those terribly negative messages like that. But actually, our country's population is steadily ageing, and we need younger people to come here to work, to pay their taxes, and to make our country prosperous.
And Jonathan
strong.
Isaby, resident workers, as it were, do not want to pluck Paul Kelly's turkeys. That's the problem. They do not want to do this work.
Look, it will be up for the government will need to talk to business to ensure that the right kinds of workers have access to the UK labour market as and where necessary. But where I think Alison
which sectors of the labour market do you think will always need migrant labour?
Well, I mean, in the agriculture industry, I mean, you've had, people coming here to pick fruit and all that kind of thing for decades and decades. But where Alison is being utterly disingenuous is to say that the UK government has control of immigration policy. It doesn't. For all the time we've been in the European Union, there has been freedom of movement. Tony Blair's government, which Alison supported, said that when the Eastern European countries joined the European Union 15 years ago or so, that there'd be tens of thousands of people coming to this country. In the event, it was hundreds of thousands, and in coming in numbers which, frankly, British public services and infrastructure were not able to deal with.
In the end, it always comes down to personal attacks, and I think that's really unfortunate.
Sorry, I haven't attacked you.
The fact is, Theresa May controlled non-EU immigration all the time that she was Home Secretary.
But she couldn't control EU immigration.
Yeah, but non-EU migration is the same amount of people as EU migration. And all the time, she failed to meet her own immigration target. Why? Because actually our country's economy needs those people, because our population is ageing and we need younger people to come here to work hard, pay their taxes and keep our NHS going.
Okay.
And this idea that somehow immigrants steal our jobs and they're stealing,
You've
you
said
know,
that. But
resources
listen,
in the health service is, of course, what people will say when they want to create a culture of fear about immigration.
Thank you both very much indeed. Really strong stuff, and I'll hazard our listeners will react accordingly on both sides of the argument, on all sides of the argument. Alison McGovern, Labour MP, member of Open Britain. Jonathan Isaby, the editor of the website Brexit Central. Well, good morning.